This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock, joined by John Brummett because it is Monday. He is a political columnist with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Thank you for being here.
Good to be here, always.
Good. All right. Hey, look, we're a day before President Trump's State of the Union speech. What's he going to say?
He's going to say that he is doing a great job.
He's been saying that.
He's going to say that more softly. He's going to explain how well things are going. And you know, by any economic assessment, things are going very well. And he's going to emphasize that. And he's going to praise his party for what it's accomplished with the biggest tax cut in history and those sorts of things. And he's going to talk about the things now that he wants to do, such as reforming some of our trade agreements or trade policies, having a major infrastructure, potentially popular things. He's going to give a standard, upbeat State of the Union address, at least by what will be on the teleprompter. Now, how he delivers it and how it comes across, he's got to have some red meat in there for the base. He can't be a completely traditional president and reach out across the aisle, to use that cliche, without something for the base. So that's where the rub will be. But I think he's going for conventionality. I've seen him becoming more, to the extent that he is able, I have seen him becoming a bit more conventional in the way he's going about his job, albeit still tweeting and given to the occasional volatile, ridiculous statement.
So if we see an uptick in his favorable ratings or his job approval ratings after the State of the Union speech, maybe that is going to suggest some sort of different direction that he may take, maybe even a different course of behavior that he may take? Or do you think he just stays right where he's at, no matter what he says? Are people that ingrained?
I don't think people are that ingrained. I think there's still an element of the population out there. I'm in it, but not of it. I mean, I can't imagine anything about Trump that would get me to ever embrace him. But I'm looking for him to be a little less loco and a little more conventional. And any signal of that, I think, might augment his base with some people who'd like to have a president that they can feel a little bit better about and who would agree with him on many of the issues and who love the economy. So I think there are points there for him to gain. Not a major, not a large number of points, but some. And I think he can do it. I think that's what he's going for. And we'll see if he can go a little bit softer, reach out a little more, look a little more conventional, and remind everybody how well things are going. And then and then the day after, I think the polls could show him up a little bit. Yeah. That's what State of the Unions are for.
Presidents tend to get a bounce out of a State of the Union because they do get to kind of give the rah-rah speech there. And
there are two things people are looking for: good news, and then something optimistic beyond the current good news, and sort of a softer side, a willingness to work with the other side. And I think that's going to be the first theme of his speech. There'll be some subtext, and that's where we look for standard Trump. Will it change his behavior? I am not prepared to say that. I mean, I'm just not. I mean, we've seen Kelly try to move him a little more disciplined before, and he always gets off the reservation. So I'm not prepared to say that. But I'm looking for a regularized State of the Union.
We had these conversations back in the Obama administration. Does a State of the Union speech even matter? You could even actually go back to George W. Bush, because there would be a lot of platitudes, there'd be a lot of goals that would be set, but nothing ever got done as a result of them. It was always promises for the most part. Don't you think that mold is not going to be broken here?
No, I do think that. I don't think that mold is going to be broken. I think unless Trump just gives such a ridiculous speech that it's a news in itself, if he goes conventional, then the reaction will be conventional, which will be would be on Wednesday, everybody was saying, so silly, only one side stands up for this and only one side stands up for that. That always takes place. And then the polls show that if he gave an optimistic message and reminded people of what he had done and what he wants to do and does so confidently, the president gets a few points. Does it reflect in policy that gets enacted from the litany? No, no. Does the bump in the polls linger? No. And I would imagine fewer and fewer people are watching. There's so many other options in terms of our evening entertainment, even if you got the television on, and it's become sort of rote or predictable how these go. So no, this isn't a seismic change unless it signals that one thing, a willingness and an ability in this president to regularize himself a little. That's all I'm looking for.
All right, let's take a quick commercial break. I want to come back and talk about a magazine piece that you have written for Talk Business and Politics.
Right here.
All right, we're back with John Brummett right after this.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
Welcome back to Talk Business and Politics Daily. I'm Roby Brock. I'm joined by John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, and John has written an article in our latest magazine, the State of the State Report. It's our annual magazine where we really look at some things going forward in 2018 or whatever the new year is in business and politics, and I'm going to quiz you over what all you've written for us.
That's
in
not
here.
fair. I wrote it so long ago.
It's
Cut loose.
a prediction.
Cut loose.
They should be good. So one of the things you said we should keep in mind for Arkansas politics in 2018, Governor Asa Hutchinson versus his right flank. Jan Morgan, conduit for action, some of the folks that don't feel he's been conservative enough.
Right. My prediction on that?
Yes.
I think it's more noise than substance. But it's a lot of noise. I think the Gun Goddess is kind of fun to watch. And Conduit, do you follow them online and their mailings? They're noisy. They keep up a steady drumbeat that Asa is just a conventional, moderate, democratic sort of governor and has abandoned the rightward revolution which took over the state. I think Asa will handle Miss Morgan with a comfortable margin, and in the end, it won't. It will have been a matter of some entertainment and noise, but not substantial.
Another prediction that you said, or I guess another observation you want us to keep our eye on: Republicans and Trump versus the rise of women in politics.
It's a big thing,
which can be Republican women as well. But this is more of a Democratic or a progressive movement.
Right, but the story makes that point. I mean, I cover that nuance in that article. Nationally, the midterm elections are largely about the resistance to Trump and whether that will propel a major Democratic gains. And that is this indivisible group, which is out there and active, and it's also a mobilizing of women voters because of all this Me Too outrage. I questioned, or I delved into whether that matters in Arkansas. I talked with Janine Perry of the Arkansas Poll, and she was very instructive about that. Basically, it will matter if it sustains for the year, if the news and the intensity of that issue sustains to the point that what she calls and what pollsters call seldom voters turn out. By seldom voters, that would be minority women, young women who don't normally vote. She says women in Arkansas, particularly the prevailing women, white married women vote about as Republican as their husbands, went Republican in 2010 with their husbands. So that we have to, for it to have an effect in Arkansas, it would have to really sustain and mobilize some younger unmarried women, minority women, and get them to vote. And it remains to be seen if that is so, if it happens.
Maybe the women went Republican in 2010 and the men followed.
They
them.
went together is what I meant to say. And if I suggested they were simply following their husbands, that was a serious faux pas for which I apologize.
No problem.
Because that's not what I meant.
I understand. So you also bring to light the observation of this rising new Democratic generation.
Right.
Candidates who tend to be younger, progressive in thought. They are running for office this year. They are getting politically active versus the old guard Democratic Party.
Right. There's something happening in the Democratic Party. It's not going to manifest itself in significant gains at the polling place, but they are cutting the strings to Clinton. I mean, the Clintons have gone from defining Arkansas politics for a generation to being utterly toxic and a drain on the state Democratic Party. The state Democratic Party needs to move to new and younger candidates and new messages. Michael John Gray, the young farmer and state Democratic chairman, is a pretty bright guy, and he's from rural Arkansas, and he understands that you got to have new young candidates like Jared Henderson, who's out of the education reform movement, like the young man, is it
Jonathan
Crossley? Thanks for the name. You could see I was having trouble with
Shamel down in the 4th District.
Folks who younger people whose theme seems to come from service, almost like an old Peace Corps service. But lately, it's our brightest young people have gone into school reform, trying to reform education, the Teach for America program, which two of these people come from. And they're very bright, and they'll present energetic candidacies. Nobody's predicting that Jared Henderson will be elected governor, but he is leading and defining a new kind of Democratic Party. Meantime, Gray wants to and I think I look for this any time now, a statement from the Democratic Party, sort of like Newt Gingrich's Contract for America,
right,
which defines how Arkansas Democrats can appeal to white, rural, conservative people with better roads, not just an election on better roads, which the ASA was willing to go along with, a program. This is how we're going to give you better roads for your kids to drive on. Early childhood education for your children. We're for Medicaid. It will say Medicaid expansion, not to shrink it, but make it vibrant because it supports your rural hospitals, so you can go on that better road to a hospital if you have a medical emergency in rural Arkansas. And I think all of that is smart, and I think it's one thing to see. What's for?
There's more to it in the story. It's Talk Business and Politics State of the State report. Look for John Brummett's political questions for a new year. This will be online a little bit later on this week at talkbusiness.net as well. Thank you. It's a great piece.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you liked it.
They typically all are. So.
Well, and yes, and I get them in on time, and then you ask me about them weeks later, and I have a hard time remembering what I wrote. But that's magazine work.
Always good to be with you.
Great.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. That's all for today's program. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.